Full HD TVs from LG. Advanced technology, beautifully hidden.
It's the beginning of December, and right now I should really be bringing you a roundup of the month's releases. Unfortunately, the show would end up looking a little like this. Yes, beyond Prince of Persia coming out on the 5th, most everything worth a damn is already out. So instead, I'm going to look at Lips, You're in the Movies, and Seen It Box Office Smash. All 360 Game Plus peripheral packs aimed at gift buyers and casual gamers in time for Christmas. Now, you might be a hardcore gamer, but are these worth picking up to keep the family busy over the holidays? And if a well-meaning granny sends you one of these, is it worth a punt, or should you keep it firmly in its packaging to exchange for a real game later? Let's start with Lips, Microsoft's answer to SingStar, which has a recommended retail price of £50 but is generally available for around £40, and which comes with 2 wireless microphones and batteries. Lips boasts a generous 40 songs, well chosen for karaoke and covering a range of genres. There are some decent dual and co-op modes, and you can attach up to 4 microphones. The microphones themselves have a decent build quality and were easy to connect to the Xbox. The fact that they're wireless gives them an edge over similar games, and the range is a generous 10 metres. They look quite good, and there's little LED lights on them which, as well as upping the shiny quotient, warn you of things like going out of range or low battery. There's also a motion sensor in them, so you can do things like join in when somebody's already started or extend a short version of a song by shaking the mic. And the game also rewards movement, encouraging you to jig about more and adopt various pop star poses. So far so good, but there are some really annoying things too. First up, audio latency. Although the sound quality you get from the mics is okay, there's a slight delay between you singing and you hearing your voice coming back through the speakers, which is rather annoying. Also, as a game, it's ridiculously easy. There's a neat feature which recognises and rewards vibrato, but when you realise that you can still score decent points by singing badly, making random noises, or even being silent, as I noticed when I was testing the mics and stopping to make notes, it does leave you feeling slightly cheap. So let's move on to You're in the Movies, which comes with an Xbox Live Vision camera for a recommended retail price of £45, with the best price being Amazon, who have the package for £33. Now if you have the camera already, you can buy the software on its own for around £25. To play, you set up the camera for the space you're playing in and get out of the way while the game analyses the background. Then, when you and your mates stand in front of that background, it can pick you out and put you in a different context on the screen, like a homemade green screen. You then take turns in a series of basic mini-games, things like hitting blocks or avoiding obstacles on a scooter, or acting challenges where you perform facial expressions or actions. But as well as putting you on screen, the game also records this footage and cuts it together to make a cheesy movie starring you and your friends at the end of the game.
What do you do when you're not alone in your own home? What happens when people are ready to move in, but you're not ready to leave? Paranoia, strange events, haunted toilets.
This sounds kind of cool, but sadly the technology really isn't ready yet, and even with a fair amount of time put into setting up the camera and putting on contrasting clothes, you'll be lucky to get decent images without chunks of you being keyed out with the background. And as you'd expect from the low quality camera, what does show up isn't fantastic anyway. You also need to be able to stand a good 6 foot away from the camera and have space to flail around in, so not ideal if you've got a small living room. And the mini games were a bit dull and required a lot of sitting around in between turns. Now, it's not bad for creative or theatrical kids who might not mind about the poor tech standards and who'll have fun making these films, especially as it does have a director mode where you can put together your own stories. But for most adults, this will be a play once sort of affair. All in all, it's not an overly expensive way of picking up a live vision camera, but as a game, it gets a measly 1 star. Last up, we have movie quiz game Seen It Box Office Smash, which comes with 4 big button controllers complete with batteries and a receiver. The recommended retail price is £40, but you can get it for around £35, or you can get the game on its own for £20. The controllers themselves seem a little gimmicky at first, as you could easily play this with a normal 360 controller. But, as we well know, something that looks like a TV remote is much less intimidating or dorky to a casual gamer or technophobe. And as a lot of people only have 1 or 2 controllers, then this is a cheaper way of getting 4 people or 4 teams playing. They're nicely designed and fairly robust, although the big button is a little flimsy, and perhaps not as conceptually simple for directional movement as up and down buttons. Connection is easy, simply plug the receiver into one of the USB slots, and there's also a nice feature where you can use the controller to remotely turn the 360 on and off. The game itself is the usual Seen It fare, which is no bad thing. This outing brings all new clips and questions, including some of the latest films like The Dark Knight. As well as the regular short and long game modes, a continuous mode which just fires questions at you, and the custom options which allow you to do things like subtract points for wrong answers, you can now also take the game online. The game also moves more quickly than last year's version and has more all-play rounds, so you're engaged for much more of the duration. If you're playing online, it also allows you to use your new Xbox Experience avatar in-game. There are a few gripes. The habit of awarding end-of-round points to the person trailing in last place can skew things rather unfairly, and as the game is recommended for over 12s, it seems like an unnecessarily childish concession. Also, while the game tracks which questions you've had, there isn't an infinite stock, and you will start noticing repetitions after maybe as few as 5 or 6 games. But this is still a fun family game, and today's best pick with a whopping 3 stars. Thanks for watching, goodbye.